All right, we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you get started on your fitness journey. How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all having a great day. We have another guest joining us on the podcast today. We have Mr. Jim Logan. Is that correct? Do you go by
That
Jim
is
or
that is
James?
correct.
Jim Logan.
Jim is the preferred name. Yeah,
Absolutely. Okay. So, just to give you a little background on the Fitness Beginner podcast and what we do here is the whole idea is just to help people get started, get motivated, kind of learn a little bit more about fitness. We typically keep things, pretty basic on a generic level, and then we have people on. We'll dive deeper into certain topics. So we like having guests on so we can kind of learn a little bit about your story and what you do and what you can how you can help the listeners as well. So that's a little bit about us. If you would, just go ahead and kind of give everybody a gist of who you are and what you do.
absolutely. So I'll give you the quick biography. I was born and raised in New Jersey, and I moved to Atlanta in 1993. I met and married my wife in '96. We've been married for 30 years, happily married for 30 years, and I raised my 21-year-old son, who's we're real proud of him. And I had a 30-year home inspection business here in Atlanta, where I did over 15,000 inspections over the previous 3 decades. I've always been a fitness enthusiast. Back in the 80s, fresh out of high school, we did a lot of weightlifting back then. That's when the gyms first became popular, and people were the big gyms now that seem so common were not so common back then. But it was mostly weightlifting back then. And then I slowly moved into endurance sports, which started small with 5Ks and worked all the way up to marathons and Ironmans here at the end. And at age 59 and a half, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic colorectal cancer that had advanced into my liver as well. And so I've been dealing with that for the last 2 years. And for the second time in the last 2 years, I just achieved no evidence of disease. And I am free of cancer as we speak. So, initially they gave me 6 months, 2 years to live. I'm a little over 2 years. So I'm in overtime over here, but I'm really doing well, thriving. And I would give fitness a great deal of credit for that. So regardless of where you're at in your fitness journey, even if you're just thinking about starting, I would encourage you to do that, because if illness ever comes your way, and I hope it doesn't, but if it does, you'll just be better prepared to deal with it. And I think that's one of the reasons I've done so well with the chemo and the surgeries that I've been through, is that I had a decent level of fitness going into it, so I was more prepared for the battle, so to
Mhm.
speak. So, and then I was able to write a book in the meantime titled "Just Keep Trying," and that's kind of the motto of the book. Is And for anybody out there who's struggling to get off the couch, the first day is the hardest, and then the second day you build momentum, and then the snowball starts rolling. Once you let those hormones hit your bloodstream, you drop a few pounds, you feel a little better, you look a little better, your clothes feel a little better. It'll lure you in.
Absolutely. Well, first off, congratulations that you're cancer free as we speak. That's
I
big
appreciate
news.
it. Yeah, it really
Uh,
is. Yeah.
so we're happy to have you on the podcast. I'm sure people would like to learn more about your story and kind of how you fought through that, because I know there's probably people out there listening that's kind of going through the same things that you went through as well. So
Yeah, and
let's
doesn't have to be a terminal disease. I mean, any life crisis can put you in a tough spot. Throughout my history, throughout my life, I've always relied on fitness, whether I realized it or not. That was my default go-to. If things weren't going well in my life, I would go for a run, hit the gym, lift some weights, and just good things usually come from that, especially mentally. I call it moving meditation. I like meditation, but I don't like sitting still. So I don't enjoy a treadmill. I'll tell you that. That's a little mundane for me. But if you can get outside and do some stuff, fresh air is great, and you don't have to be an Ironman to benefit from fitness. Walking is really good for you, and there's a lot of people who feel like Ironman's not good for you. It's really hard on your body, and it may not even be as healthy as it seems. Whereas going for a 30-minute walk, real easy on your body, and the health benefits are undeniable. It's well researched, so it doesn't have to be a hardcore, difficult thing. It can be an easy, gentle, fun thing, and that's what I would encourage people. Try to find something you enjoy if you're just starting out in fitness, because if you don't enjoy it, you're probably not going to be able to sustain it over time. And that's really when you get results, is when you apply consistent behavior over a long period of time. even a small effort over a long period of time will bring a big result.
Absolutely. Consistency is like the number one thing when
That
it
is
comes
the
to fitness.
key. And
Absolutely.
that comes down to discipline. The theme of my book, my signature philosophy is discipline, sacrifice, suffering, and pain, DSSP. If you can develop discipline, it's the greatest form of self-love there is. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself is discipline. If you have discipline, you can execute a plan, and you'll be willing to make the sacrifices. You'll get the results, and unfortunately, inevitably, we all have to experience suffering and pain for personal growth, and that comes to you regardless of whether you're healthy, fit, exercising or not. At some point, we all experience suffering and pain due to our life choices
Hmm.
or life circumstances, I should say. Pain and suffering will come to you one way or another. It's just the nature of being a human being.
Yeah. So what was your life before? What was your life like before your cancer
It was ideal.
diagnosis?
I mean, I couldn't have scripted it any better. I mean, like I said, I've happily married for 30 years, wonderful business. My son's fantastic. We had a great group of friends. I was the healthiest person I know. I was the healthiest person that the people who know me know. So for me to be stricken with cancer out of the blue without warning, that'd be one of the reasons I'm doing the podcast is to let people know. You know, I'm going to be 62 this year. I should have had a colonoscopy much sooner than I did, and I waited too long. It flew under the radar. All the blood tests, all the health screenings that I did didn't show anything. And just suddenly I was really fatigued and thought that was weird. And so we did the colonoscopy and found the stage 4. They're finding it now more and more often in men in their 40s, certainly in their 50s, where this used to be an old man's disease. It's not something that, but more and more it's getting younger and younger. So I think most insurance policies cover the colonoscopy, so you don't even have to worry about a deductible. It's free. You may have to get on a waiting list, and it is uncomfortable and it's not fun. And you know the cleansing process the evening before is no fun. But if you catch it early, you can fix it. I'm fortunate that I'm in a small percentage category. Like most people die in 2 years. Not only am I not dead, I'm about the same weight that I started at, and same percentage of body fat, and now I have no evidence of disease at this point. I've done 24 rounds of chemo. I'll still be on maintenance chemo, probably for the rest of my life, just to make sure the tumors don't come back, and they often do. You know, the recurrence rate is like 75%. I go back to the fact that the better fitness you have going into something like this, the better chance you have of surviving. And it's really from the beginning, from the diagnosis on, I never stopped training, even though it didn't look as good as it did before. I never stopped training. So the life I had before was really pretty ideal, and this just came out of left field like a tidal wave, just kind of knocked me over. And so, you know, when I looked at my life and I wonder what makes a life worth living, finding a woman like my wife that I love and she loves me, that's been fantastic. And raising my son's been a tremendous experience. And the two things I guess I would miss if I was to die here shortly would be seeing my son get married and watching him, have grandkids would be a great pleasure for me. And I hope I live long enough to experience that. One of the hardest things with the diagnosis, is obviously telling my son, and spent 21 years teaching him how to live. And the last lesson any parent will teach a child is how to die, hopefully with some dignity, and how to face a terminal disease and still live a meaningful life. And so there's still some lessons to be taught, and that's one of my great motivators is that my son is watching.
Awesome. So for anyone who may not know, what type of cancer did you have, and what exactly is it in like layman's
Stage,
terms?
yes. Well, I'll make it simple. It's stage 4 metastatic colorectal cancer. So stage 4 means it's moved to another organ, and in my case, it moved to the liver, which is real common. So they say colorectal, that's colon and rectum. Mine was in the rectum, and when it's in the rectum, because the lining of the rectum is a little bit thinner than the lining in the colon, it travels easily and quickly. So if you get rectal cancer, chances are it's going to jump to stage 4 real quick because it just jumps right over to the liver. And apparently the liver loves to host cancer. In my initial diagnosis, I had like so many tumors on my liver that they couldn't even count them, even with the computers. Like they were literally everywhere. Fortunately, after 12 chemotherapy sessions that almost killed me, I lost 35 pounds, had a level 3 skin infection. and I was really right on death's door. But miraculously, most of the tumors were eliminated, which opened up some options for surgery that really weren't there before. So in total, I've done 24 chemotherapy sessions, 5 radiation treatments, and then several surgeries to remove 40% of my colon, 60% of my liver, all of my gallbladder, all of my rectum, which left me with an ostomy, which I still have today. And I probably failed to mention, I'm scheduled and I'm invited to compete in the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, October 10th, 2026. So I continue to train for the Ironman, even through all of that, and it's really sustained me. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I could have done it without the fitness and the exercise and having a goal, that doesn't involve cancer. So, throughout my life, I've probably done like 300 races, and it's always been about getting to the finish line, and most of the time I've been able to do that. I've had to adjust my sights a little bit. It's no longer about the finish line. It's really more about just getting to the start line and the day-to-day lifestyle that helps me, deal with all the issues that I have to deal with. So, like I said, if you're not moving now, I would suggest you get up and start moving. You'll benefit tremendously from it.
Absolutely. So you said you were a pretty healthy person before. Did they give you any reason as to why these tumors may have like occurred? Is it a
Yeah,
genetic thing or?
nope, it wasn't in my family. It's almost an epidemic, especially if you go to these cancer centers and you go to the infusion rooms. There's like a waiting line out the door. I mean, they just can't. It's cancer people popping up left and right. My personal theory is that I think the food system is poisoned. I think there's a lot of poison in our. Like I didn't know things like the wrinkle-free shirts. I thought that was one of the coolest things ever. You get a wrinkle-free shirt, you don't have to iron it. Well, apparently, whatever the chemical is that they put in to make it wrinkle-free is cancerous, and that's just one thing. We've got so many things in our society now that are laden with chemicals that we don't even know about. So I think we all go to the same grocery stores. I'm in Georgia. We have Publix, Kroger, and Ingles, but they all get the food from the same places. There's a handful of giant food manufacturers, and we're all eating the same stuff. So I don't think there's any way to pinpoint it. I think if we could figure out where it comes from, it'd be a lot easier to figure out how to stop it. I don't think anybody knows why this is happening now, except for things aren't as healthy as they used to be. You can buy an apple, leave it on the counter for 3 weeks, and it doesn't go rotten. It's like, why is that? It used to be, apple go rotten in a couple of days usually. So I don't have a lot of faith in the food system, and I think we're all getting poisoned, not intentionally, but that's just the nature of the society we live in now.
Yeah,
And
you don't have to
it's hard
think it.
it's
We
hard
are
to
getting
pinpoint it.
poisoned.
The plastics, and there's things that are
Yeah.
even hard for me to even quantify. So I don't dwell too much on how I got it. Now that I have it, I just kind of deal with that. And for the first 6 months, it was pretty depressing and difficult to come to terms with it. But at some point, I decided I wasn't going to worry about dying. I was more concerned with how I lived between now and then, and just kind of dedicated my life to a life of service. I retired from home inspection. I wrote a book, Just Keep Trying. I'm sending the profits from the book to the Ironman Foundation to meet my fundraising goal of $100,000. We're about a quarter of the way there, $25,000 in. I've got 4 months to go. The book just launched on Amazon. It's #1 new release in its category, which is triathlon, and I'm rising in a couple other categories. So we're just getting started. And so in a couple of ways, cancer has been a bit of a gift to me. It's allowed me time, and time gives you opportunities to better my relationships. I'm closer to my wife, my son, my family, my friends. It's been a tremendous, humbling experience to realize how many people care about me, how many deep, good, close friendships and relationships I've developed over the years. People have really come out and supported me tremendously, and that's been really, really rewarding. As difficult as it is to say, cancer is the worst thing that ever happened to me, and in some ways it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. As I said, it's given me time, which gives me opportunities to do things that I never would have imagined I would do, like writing a book or going to the Ironman World Championship or even being on this podcast with you and many others. So I'm getting to meet a lot of people and share my story and hopefully help a few people along the way.
That's awesome. You can tell you have such a like good mindset about it because a lot of people could be in a very bad place if they were in your situation.
Yeah, it took me time to get here. It's been 2 years. Like
Yeah.
I said, the first 6 months you wouldn't have been talking to this guy. And
Yeah.
I've said this before. It took me a little bit of time to get here, but if I had the opportunity, I would not reverse the diagnosis or change it, because the person I am now is I'm much happier with, and the things that I'm doing, I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade the benefits that I've gotten over the last couple of years for anything. So I'm really happy with where I'm at, and as it turns out, I'm no evidence of disease at the moment, and I'm beating the odds. So right now we're doing pretty good, and that's good enough for me. Um, I kind of live by a biblical verse. It's Matthew 6:34. I'm not real good at quoting big biblical verses, but I like this one. It's easy. It's don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. There's enough trouble in the day ahead, and I think that's true for everyone. If you think about it, think about all the stuff you deal with in a day. If you take care of today, tomorrow will take care of itself. And once I took on that attitude, I was able really to, enjoy the day that I have, the time that I have, because I don't know how much time I have. None of us do really, by the way. I remember when the doctor initially told me I was stage 4, and he said, yeah, that's terminal. And I didn't really like the terminology of terminal. If you look up the definition, it's defined as the end. And when I look back over the previous 2 years, it was anything but the end. It was the beginning of so many new things for me. So it's quite the opposite. And one of the reasons I wrote the book, and one of the reasons I'm doing the podcast, is hopefully to, give some faith to the faithless, hope to the hopeless. As I entered into the cancer world and the chemo rooms and the infusion rooms and the cancer centers, so many people in despair and looking, hopeless, and I was hoping I could lift their spirits a little bit and maybe give them some options to, face the terminal disease without going down that negative trail. It's a difficult thing to control your mind.
So how would you say your kind of mindset changed before and after?
As I said, I guess the biggest thing is I'm more humble and less complacent. I think I had reached a point in my life where I had become complacent. Like I said, I was approaching 60 years old, had some good success in business, and we had a nice life. And sometimes when you achieve things, you kind of sit back and coast a little bit, and you're not really realizing your true potential. So the cancer diagnosis kind of woke me up to the fact that my life's not over. I can still dream big and do big things. I'm not ready for Florida. I'm not ready to play shuffleboard and live that retirement lifestyle. So I'm doing things now that I couldn't imagine I would ever do, and it just feels good. It feels good to be doing those sort of things and having that wake up call. So I'm like I said, not complacent in my place here anymore. And doing things to help others, writing the book, and raising money for the IRONMAN Foundation is really the most rewarding thing I've ever done, because I'm not doing it for myself.
Yeah, you said you're 62. You look good to be 62 and to
Yeah,
beat
thank you. Well,
cancer.
that's another benefit to the health and fitness lifestyle. So if you
Hmm.
you take care of yourself. It's really not that hard to do. You don't have to be an Ironman to benefit from some of the lessons in the book. We said, just going for a walk 3 times a week for 30 minutes. If you're not doing anything, that's a lot more than you were doing before. I would start with baby steps and build on that. So
Hmm.
especially in our society now, where everybody, you got Uber Eats and lots of entertainment on the TV and computer, and so it's easy to live a sedentary lifestyle. In mentally, human nature, that's kind of what you want to do. You want to go down that easy path. It's built into us from back in the caveman days. You want to avoid pain and suffering. You want to avoid things that are difficult. So it's easy to want to avoid the physical aspects of training if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think we do avoid it so much. We people like me and you, we find those things on purpose to challenge
Yeah,
ourselves,
yeah,
to find that like almost kind of like suffering. Because like
yeah,
if you do an Ironman, you're suffering through it. I mean, nobody's just
yeah.
cruising through an Ironman.
That, that,
I've
yeah, that's where the learning, that's where the growth and the learning happens. That's
mm,
where you learn about yourself. And at some point, it's not a physical achievement; it's a mental achievement. And
hmm.
anyone will tell you that in an Ironman race is that at some point it becomes a mind game. And that's where the learning happens, is in the suffering and the pain. And as I often say, and I say in the book, there's joy in pain and there's meaning in suffering. And if you don't understand that in the form of an Ironman, I use the analogy in the book of a pregnancy. A woman goes through 9 months. You train 9 months for an Ironman. You have 9 months of pregnancy, and you nurture and you care for and you protect your body to protect that baby. And on the day of birth, you suffer greatly. And the moment that baby's born, all the suffering disappears and it's all worthwhile. Same in an Ironman. You suffer through the race, you cross that finish line, and all the suffering goes away, and all the pain and suffering becomes worthwhile.
Yeah,
So
that's a good analogy.
there's a reward on the other side, but you have to
Hmm.
do the work, and you have to be willing to suffer a little bit. I'm not talking about torture like David Goggins, but there does need to be a certain element of discomfort, uncomfortableness, to grow. And for most people, if you've never done it, you don't know what I'm talking about. So what I would suggest, if you were starting out and saying, what can I possibly do? There are always 5Ks, 5K races in every little town in every state all over the United States. It's 5Ks, which is 3.1 miles. Usually it's a walk run type thing. And you can bring children, you can bring dogs. You can walk it at 20 minutes a mile. You're talking about an hour. You get a t-shirt, you get a medal. Sometimes you get a cupcake or a cookie. And you get to hang around like-minded people. You'll make some friends. You'll support a charity. Usually the races support a charity, a cause, or a person. And it's just a really good experience. And I can tell you from my experience, crossing finish lines is addictive. You feel you're doing something good for the community, you're doing something good for yourself, you're making new friends, and it just feels good. And then you get a collection like me of medals and t-shirts, and my whole wardrobe is race t-shirts, so I haven't had to buy a t-shirt in many, many years. That's just one avenue to start. So I choose finish lines because there's something feels good about crossing that line. And for me, I always tried to set 10 races up a year, whether it's a 5K, a 10K, a marathon. I like to do a couple big things, but a lot of small things as well. And if you put dates on the calendar, then you're more likely to train for the upcoming date. If you don't have anything you're training for, it's a lot easier to blow it off. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I have to work out. I got to." You don't have to work out. You get to. It's a privilege. And when you get sick like me and it gets taken away, the day the doctors come to you and say, "I know you've been wanting to get back in shape, but now you can't because you have a heart problem. I don't want you running. I don't want you lifting weights. You can't. You're done." That day will suck. So don't wait for it. So when you're talking about exercise or fitness, that's a privilege, and you don't want to take that for granted. You get to train, you get to work out. You don't have to do it. It's a privilege. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's funny you said that because I actually say that a lot too. You don't have to do it. You get to do it. So I
Yeah,
agree with that 100%. Another thing you talked about doing the races and doing the finish lines, putting it on the calendar is huge. Like I have
yeah,
to do this. I have to when I train for a race, I go ahead and sign up for it. Like even if
yeah,
it's months in advance, I'm signing
yeah,
up for it,
yeah,
paying for it, putting it on the calendar,
hmm,
and that just holds me so much more accountable,
yeah.
knowing that I've already committed to it. And then yeah, it definitely helps when it comes to training because there's gonna be a lot of days where you don't want to
Yeah.
get up and train.
That's true, and you just said like a key word, and I talk about this. It's just a little bit of a word thing. Is when you have a date on the calendar, you're training for an event, and everything you do is a training session that's designed to get you prepared for that day. Whereas a workout is just you go to the gym, you get your heart rate up. Maybe you don't. There's no goal intended other than to get a little health and fitness in, and it's a lot easier to slack off on something like that. So, when I do an Ironman training program, it's 9, 10 months long and you might have 10 workouts a week. So, if you have 36 weeks, you get 360 workouts. Each one of those is a building block. Each one has a purpose. Each one has a metric, a beginning, a middle, and end, and a purpose to it. So that's why it's a training session, because it has a meaning, a purpose, and a goal at the end. Whereas a workout is just, something you do for exercise, which is fine. But when you're training, you have a purpose and a goal in mind, and each workout has a meaning to it, which makes it easier to do. So I just did a bike ride. I've got my Garmin 1040, my computer. I've got my TriDot triathlon training program. I download the workout to the computer, and it tells me exactly what to do. And each workout is a building block. And when you get done, you have your tower of workouts, and if you do them all, you'll be ready.
Hmm. I was just about to ask you something. I went blank.
Ah,
uh,
well, I was just talking about the difference between training and working out. So when you put a date on the calendar,
yeah.
and now you're training toward that date, it's not just a workout anymore. It has a meaning, it has a purpose, and that's what I would say for the people who are having trouble getting off the couch or getting started. The first step is the hardest. Once you take the first step, momentum kind of takes over from there. And I don't know many people where, you go into the gym, I don't feel like doing this, and then you go to the gym, you work out for an hour, or you do a training session for an hour, and you ask that same person at the end, are you happy you did that? They're like, yes. No one ever says, nah, I wish I didn't do it. It's
Hmm.
always, man, I'm so glad I pushed through the doubt. Because on the other side, you feel so good. You're like, man, why did I not want to do that?
Yeah, I like to say there's no such thing as a bad workout
Yeah.
because like it's always even if you did something like that's better than not doing it at all. So
Yeah, and I have that experience with some of my chemo and radiation and different things. Sometimes I go out to do a workout and it's just not working. It is just not working. I call them throwaways, but it's still a good day. You're out there. You get the best out of it. If I can't hit my metrics, then if I can't run the certain amount of miles, then I'll walk it or whatever. So you try to extract something from it. And some days are better than others. That's just the nature of life.
absolutely. You mentioned that fitness kind of helped you through your chemo and your recovery process.
Yeah.
Well, how do you think your outcome would have been? Do you think it would have been different if you didn't have that fitness background
Yeah, I
before you
mean,
got sick?
I think it keeps me mentally stable because I've been doing doing this for 40 years. If you take away that fitness aspect, it begins to affect you mentally. Mentally is like the endorphins, the hormones, whatever you get out of it, you miss it terribly. It's definitely an addiction, and there's definitely a withdrawal, and a lot of it is mental, and it can lead to depression. In my case, that's if I had to just sit on the couch and be sick and wither away, and that's the most depressing thing I could ever think of. So, what I've said, and jokingly, and I have a bit of a sense of humor. So, if I die, I'll die trying. In other words, triathloning. And if I die on the swim, I died with a grin. If I die on the bike, I died doing something I like. If I die on the run, I was having fun. So I'm going to die moving. I'm not going to die lying down. So some people recede and other people hit the gas. I hit the gas, and that's really
Yeah.
helped me. And that's the way I am, and maybe not the way everyone is. But I would say, like, if golf was your thing, and you get diagnosed with cancer, you don't have to upend your entire life. You go back to doing the things you love to do. And for me, riding my bike, running, swimming, those are my happy places. And immediately, a lot of people are like, how do you train on cancer? It's like, well, with chemo, that's the time of day I feel the best. Otherwise I'm sitting there feeling all these symptoms. When you go and you do something that makes you feel good, it makes the bad stuff kind of go away. So it was really, I'd say, I like to say it's a prescription no doctor could write, because it not only helped me physically, it helped me mentally.
Mhm.
And my doctor, Jia, little Chinese lady, she's my oncologist. She's been doing this for 30 years. She's a PhD. She's never seen blood numbers like mine. My white blood cells don't seem to be as affected by the chemo as others. And when I started with her, I told her I'm a long distance endurance athlete and I'm not going to stop doing Ironmans. She told me to stop doing Ironman. She said it's a stupid idea. You need to stop doing that. It's a bad idea. Well, 2 years later, I turned her around. She's okay with me doing Ironmans, and she's surprised by the difference in the blood numbers because there's not a whole lot of research on long distance endurance training and stage 4 cancer, because most stage 4 people don't want to do what I'm doing, and they usually don't live long enough to put together a study. So, but there is plenty of research on mild activity like yoga, meditation, walking 3 times a week can extend your life expectancy by 40%. Now, I have no way to explain, they told me 6 months, 2 years, over 2 years ago. And not only am I not dead, I don't have cancer. I know that, nobody can predict anything, but I do think, fitness has given me an edge that, has really helped me, be where I am right now. I have no doubt about it. And for me, like I said, it didn't matter to me if it was going to hurt my recovery or this is something I had to do to maintain my mental sanity. So if you love something, and people have always asked me, why do you do Ironman, especially once you have cancer? And the simple answer is I love it. And that's what I would suggest to anyone who's trying to get started in the fitness world. Find something you enjoy doing. If it's pickleball or tennis or golf or walking or whatever it might be, paddleboarding. I mean, if you don't love it, you're not going to be able to continue to do it over a long period of time. That's why you see people go to, fad programs and, different gym programs, and it gets boring. And, you can reach a plateau where you go and you do a system like, not to knock Orange Theory, but it just comes to the top of my head. You go into Orange Theory and you'll get results for like 6 or 9 months. But then it becomes a kind of a chore because you're doing the same thing over and over again. You're inside. Your body gets used to the movements, and then you kind of plateau, and you don't see the benefits of the results, and maybe it's not as much fun, and then you stop going. So, to me, that's the key: is to find something you absolutely love, and then it's easy to do.
Hmm. I'm glad you brought up your doctor's not recommending the Ironmans, because I was going to ask you about that. I was curious, because I would assume that she would have told you to stop doing them.
Yeah.
So I was curious as
Well,
to.
the assumption was that it would diminish my ability to heal or diminish
Hmm.
chemo's ability. Chemo's killing me. Chemo is absolutely trying to kill me, as is the cancer. Swimming's not going to kill me. Biking's not going to kill me. Running's not going to kill me. Those things are good for me. If they were good for me before cancer, they got to be good after. That was my theory. And even if they're not, I don't care, because that's what I'm going to do. That's what I like to do. I decided early on that I was just going to go back to doing the things that I love to do. And I was happy with my life the way it was. And people are like, you want to travel? No, I'm happy. I want to continue doing all the things that I was doing before. And that's exactly what I did, minus a few things, which writing the book was not something that I had ever planned on doing. But it was really, really rewarding. It took me a little over a year to write the book. I took my time. I really wanted to put out a quality product, and a lot of the people that have read it so far really, really seem to like it. And I've had teenagers read it. I've had people 90 years old read it, men and women, and everybody seems to pull something different out of it. So it's really not a book about cancer, although cancer is fairly prominent. It's really not a book about Ironman, even though it's pretty prominent. It's really about faith, family, relationships, and those are the things that matter. That's what another gift cancer gave me, was waking me up to those things. And that's one thing I would suggest. You don't have to wait to have cancer to strengthen your relationships. Let the people know that you love them. Let your children know. And, it may sound a little morbid, but if you don't have a plan, your husband, your wife, whatever, it's okay to sit down and talk about, what if I did die suddenly? Do you have enough life insurance? How's your health insurance? I had life insurance. I had really good health insurance. My cancer center is 3 miles from my house, one of the best in the state. I go to the Winship Cancer Center down at Emory, and all my doctors are at Emory. They're world renowned. I get the best insurance. I get the best doctors. I don't wait for anything, and it's been good to be prepared in that sense. So I think when it comes to dealing with a terminal disease like cancer or any kind of other illness like that, it's not one thing, it's everything. So I had good insurance. I was financially stable. I've got wonderful family and friends, support system. I'm healthy, I'm fit. So I was really prepared for the battle. And it's okay to do those sort of things. If you haven't, you don't want to get caught by surprise, because it'll make things a lot more difficult.
Hmm. Yeah, it's better to be prepared than.
Well, nobody wants to talk about dying, but
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, if you're married and you have a couple of kids, what would happen if you died? Would your wife be able to stay in the house that you're in? Would your kids be able to stay in the same school system? How difficult would that transition be? It's already going to be hard enough to lose a spouse, a family member, or whatever. But if you're not prepared financially or insurance-wise, you could leave your significant other in a very difficult spot. So, as uncomfortable as that conversation is, it's one that's worth having.
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned the Emory Hospital. My grandmother actually has had several open heart surgeries, and I think that's the hospital she had him at. So
Is she in
you're
Atlanta?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
that's
sure.
Emory.
Yeah.
It's considered one of the best hospitals in the world. It's right next to the CDC, so we've had wonderful experiences there. Great doctors, great nurses, great facility.
Hmm. Yeah. So, would you say being like physically fit gave you a big advantage to beating cancer? Like, what say you didn't work out for all those years before? Do you still think you would have survived it, or?
No, the
Mhm.
two. So it's 6 months in after really heavy rounds of chemo. I had lost a bunch of weight. I was really on death's door. You become susceptible to infections, which I had a level 3 skin infection. And if you're not healthy, those infections can get pretty bad. And there's a million ways to die. So if you're overweight, if you're diabetes, or any kind of health issues, it diminishes your ability to fight. And being healthy, being fit, eating right, staying fit, staying engaged mentally, all of those things. Like I said, it's not one thing; it's everything. Fitness was one thing in the big picture. It was a big important thing. But yeah, I think it definitely. So I like to say that I went from swim, bike, run to chemo, radiation, surgery. Another difficult battle, but it's the same thing. I'm trying to fight through it to get to the finish line. So, which is beating cancer, which I've done. So a lot of things have happened along the way. Even I was no evidence of disease after they removed my rectum in September of 25, all the way till January of this year when we discovered three new golf ball sized tumors on my liver just appeared out of nowhere. Um, and we did 6 more rounds of really hardcore heavy chemo, which completely eliminated all three tumors, but also landed me in the hospital with two blood clots on my jugular. And I was in the hospital for 7 days trying to deal with the blood clots, trying to make sure I didn't have infections. So twice I've been brought up right up to the raggedy edge of oblivion, and then been able to come back. And I don't know, everybody's a little different, but if you're not physically prepared, maybe you get to the brink of oblivion and don't come back. I guess someday that'll happen to me because stage 4 is forever. Once you're stage 4, there's no turning back. That's it. If you're stage 3, that means the tumors have been localized to wherever organ it started in, and they can kind of deal with that. And you can get to remission. But stage 4, apparently I'll be on chemo for life. So
Hmm.
whether it's heavy or light, right now I don't have any tumors, and hopefully it'll stay that way. So we do light chemo now to keep the tumors down, and I do scans every 3 or 4 months to see what's going on. So, but I couldn't be more pleased. Like I said, I was on death's door. I mean, I think we communicated. Did I? Yeah, that I was trying to do your show earlier, and I'm like, sorry, I can't make it. I'm in the hospital. But don't worry, I'll be out soon. Um, and that's the way it worked out. So, day to day, everything changes. You just never can plan. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Things turn on a dime. I mean, one minute I thought I was dying, and the next minute they tell me I got no evidence of disease. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. And, that's one of the harder parts, to get your mind prepared for the fact that you have zero control over anything. And it really doesn't matter what you do. The cancer is going to do whatever the heck it wants to do. So I do whatever the heck I want to do.
So, what did your training look like when you were going through,
I have a I
your
have a
hard
coach.
chemo?
I have a professional coach, Jill Bartholomew, Be Fierce Multisport. She's a world class athlete and trainer in her own right, but she's a great coach, and so I have her guide me. And I have the same training program that anybody would, even without cancer. I try to execute, but some days are better than others, like we talked about. Um, Today I was supposed to do an hour. I only got 30 minutes in on the bike. Um, just because I got nauseous and I've got some issues with the ostomy that I'm trying to work through. But for the most part, I'd say I got from December till early May, I got probably almost 80% of the workouts in. So I had a really good first 5 months, even with the chemo and everything. But with the blood clots, I was not able to. I've been down for about 3 weeks now. I haven't really been able to do much of anything. And now I'm hoping for the comeback. I've got 4 months to go to Kona, and I really need to get some training in. I've got 17 hours to finish that race. I don't have to be fast. I just have to come in under 17 hours, and that's one of my lifelong dreams. I've been dreaming about that moment since 1982, to go to Hawaii, the birthplace of the Ironman, and compete in the world's greatest one-day endurance event in the world's most iconic venue, Kona, Hawaii, is going to be something really special for me, something I never imagined I would do in my lifetime. Again, going back to complacency and at some point I stopped setting big goals. I stopped trying to do big things, and it's a natural thing to do as you get older. You're enjoying your success, and you kind of lose that fire that you had when you were a younger guy. So cancer woke me up and relit my fire, relit my vigor for life, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm jealous you get to go to Kona. I've actually done Ironman myself. So
Whoa, good for you,
yeah,
man. Which one did you?
Panama City,
Oh, was that
Florida.
recent? Did you do that recently?
No, I did it back in 2023. So it's three
Okay,
years ago.
yeah.
3 years
I,
ago.
I, I
Yeah.
was I was just down there. I was signed up to do that race, but
Hmm.
I had just had my rectum removed, and my ostomy was still pretty fresh, and the doctor said better not do it, and I listened to him this time. Sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. But I went
That's a
down and
good one though.
yeah, yeah. No, I like them all. I mean, I love the
Mhm.
environment. I love the camaraderie. I love the crowd. I love the people. I love everything about the sport. And now I'm involved with the Ironman Foundation. So when I race for the Ironman Foundation team. And there's a component to that where you raise money for the foundation, which I raised $10,000 for Panama City this last December, November, whatever it was. And now I'm on a goal to raise $100,000. They said I'm using the profits from the book to fund the $100,000 goal, and we'll see what happens. It's like I said, it's been a fun element to add to the triathlon. My personal goal to finish, and then my desire to do the service and give back to the community that I love so much. I've been doing triathlons for over 3 decades, and I've always been a competitor. And now it's fun to give back to the communities that we race in. So that's been another gift that cancer gave me that I appreciate.
Yeah, the Ironman itself is like a whole experience. It was super cool.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean, and do you have the tattoo?
No, I didn't get the tattoo.
Come
I've only
on,
done
man.
one, so I
No, you
didn't. Well, I
did.
don't. I don't
You
have any
said
other tattoos, so
was it 70.3 or you did the 140.6?
I did the full.
Okay,
Yeah.
140.6. You need to get the
Mhm.
tattoo. That's a badge of honor. All it is a little
Yeah,
I dot, a little M with a dot on it. You put it on your calf, and then everybody knows.
yeah. I got a little sticker on my truck. That counts.
Oh, yeah, that counts. No,
Yeah.
it's impressive. There's a rare few people in the population that have ever done one, and I'm impressed, and I think anyone who hears that was always impressed. So, how's your timing? Did you do well?
Yeah, so my goal was 14 hours the first time I did it, and I ended up doing it in 12 hours and 13 minutes.
Whoa, man,
So that
Speedy
was my first
Gonzalez.
one.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, you're pretty quick. That's so you're a good swimmer, good cyclist, good runner.
Well, I was very new. I hadn't done another one since then, but I've done a few like Olympic ones since then.
Yeah,
But so what I do is every year, and the Ironman kind of started this, but every year I set one big like challenge for the year. So every year I've done something different. So after
yeah.
the Ironman, I did a bodybuilding show,
Oh,
and
really?
then yeah, and then so I did that 2024, and then last year I did a 100-mile ultra marathon. So that's what I did last
Wow,
year.
yeah, that's really impressive. I like your style,
Hmm.
mixing it up, and I'm just really, really impressed. I just did a podcast with a guy over in London he's about to do his third 100-mile attempt. He had two
Hmm.
failed attempts, and now he's going in for his third. So I'm always impressed with anyone that can run 100 miles. That's another level in my
It was
opinion.
hard. It was harder than the Ironman to me,
No,
for sure.
I believe that because if you think
Yeah.
about it, swimming, you have buoyancy in the water, so you're getting some assistance just by floating in the water. There's less resistance and less gravity. And then on the bike, you have downhills, you have points where you can stop pedaling and rest. Running requires a continuous effort or you do not move. And running downhill is as hard as running uphill. There's no break running downhill. It's not easier, it can be harder. So yeah, the run, especially at the end of the Ironman, because it's at the end. I think it's the hardest discipline, no doubt. And I think if you look at it, it also burns the most calories per hour. Of course, depending on how hard you run, but yeah, running is it's difficult. So yeah, 100-mile race, that's another badge of honor. So you should be covered in tattoos.
Have you heard of a backyard ultra?
Was that where they just run 4 miles around in circles
Yeah.
and then, yeah, that I like the idea of that because you never have to get too far from home base. You can
Hmm.
always get water supplies. Well, you have to run every 4 miles in under an hour, and
Hmm.
then you get eliminated once you can't hold that time. So you do 100 miles in 25 hours is the cutoff,
24
right?
hours. Yeah.
24 hours, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
what.
I like that.
Yeah, that's my
It
goal
might
for
get a
this
little
year.
boring though. It might get a little
Oh
boring
yeah.
doing that loop.
It's this one's gonna be so that's what I'm doing this year for my challenge. It's in August, but yeah, it's gonna be mentally tough.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
doing that same loop over and over and over again. It's gonna
Well,
be
you'll have your support system, I assume. You'll
yeah.
have some people that are cheering you on and patting your back every time around. It is a little bit easier logistically for organizers to
Oh
put
yeah,
something like that
absolutely.
together. 'Cause try to do a point to point. I don't even
Hmm.
know, like the logistics of that are just difficult for medical and just all of it. So it makes it a little more spectator friendly, where your friends and family can come and support you a little bit.
Yeah, logistically, it's definitely way easier than a 100 mile or Ironman. Like any kind of
Yeah,
triathlon,
yeah,
I feel like it's a logistic nightmare trying to put three
yeah.
different disciplines together
And
in
then
one
once you throw
place.
throw the bike in there, you got all the mechanical issues that can come up, especially with these new bicycles, which batteries and electronic shifters and tubeless tires, and it used to be easy to work on a bicycle. Now you got to be like a NASA scientist,
Dude, some
So
of them bicycles are crazy that they use
I've got I've
nowadays.
got I've got one of those. I finally after 20 something years I threw down about $15,000 on a bicycle. So, but
Hmm.
I keep that in a glass case that comes out on race day. I have a training bike that I use for the most part titanium. So the carbon fiber is like it's like the queen's jewels. I keep that under lock and key and real safe. So
What brand did you get?
Argon 18, obviously all carbon
Yeah.
fiber, and then Zip 404 wheels. I mean, the wheels alone are $4,000, $2,000 a wheel.
Hmm.
I think I paid more for my tires on my bike than I did on my wife's car. So, but if you're into the sport for that long, it makes a difference. Everything makes a difference, and
Hmm.
triathlon, especially Ironman, is real expensive. And obviously, your interests are wide and varied, and you didn't like a lot of us get just totally addicted to this one thing, and it just keeps drawing you back in. For some reason, it just keeps luring you back in. So
No,
I'm
I
impressed
definitely
with that.
know. I want to
I'm
do
impressed
another
with
one
your
for
variety.
sure.
Yeah, I'm impressed
Yeah.
with your variety. So I like your style with that. But I did the same thing as try to pick. I did 10 races a year. A lot of them were smaller, but I usually had an Ironman, a marathon. A couple half marathons. Something that's challenging. That's
Hmm.
going to push you out of your comfort zone, take you to that place you don't want to go, which is where all the learning happens. It's where all the growth happens, and it's hard to describe to people that don't know what it's like to cross that finish line. After 100 miles, after 140.6 miles, it's a pretty good feeling. There's
Yeah, it's
only
so
one way,
hard.
only one way to get it. You can't buy it. You got to do it. So.
Yeah, I get that a
Uh,
lot. Like, why do you do something like that? Why would you do that? That does not sound fun at all. I'm like, you just don't get it. You have to do it. Like, you have to try it one
Yeah,
time, and then you'll get
yeah,
it.
you have to go through it. And I've coached several people into triathlon, into sprints, and there seems to me there's two reactions. So I coached one guy through a race, and he got to the end of the race, and he said, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. I'll never do it again." And he never did. I had another guy that crossed the line of his first sprint, and I said, "How'd it go?" He said, "Man." He said, "I think if I did this, this, and this on the swim, I could be a little quicker. I made a few mistakes on the bike. I think if I tune up my bike, I get a better bike, I can get it." So already the wheels were spinning on how he could improve on every aspect of his race. I said, "That's it. You're hooked." And now you're going to go. Once you get comfortable in the sprint, you'll go to the Olympic. Once you do the Olympic, you do the 70.3. I remember doing my first 70.3 half Ironman. And the first question you ask yourself when you cross that finish line is, do I think I could do that twice? And after my first 70.3, I was like, no freaking way could I start over and do that again. It's the same with a marathon. You do the half marathon and you're like, man, I wouldn't want to have to start over and do that again. But once you do a marathon, a half marathon is a joke. And once you do an Ironman, a half Ironman, I don't say half Ironman's a joke because it's still a significant, difficult event, but it's a lot easier. It's a
Yeah.
lot better. It's a lot better to be done at 1 or 2 o'clock than it is to be coming in at midnight. You know,
Yeah, so I skipped the whole half Ironman thing.
you
I
just
went
went
from
straight to it, man.
I went from an Olympic to a well, actually, what I did was a friend talked me into doing a sprint, like a little local sprint one. So I
Yeah.
did that, and literally like a week later, I signed up to do the Ironman full distance. I was
Wow.
like, I'm going big, you're going home. But
Man,
in the
that's
meantime,
impressive.
in my training, I did another sprint, and then I did one Olympic while I was training for the Ironman. So I had an Olympic distance in there.
And how old were you at the time?
Oh, 2023, I would have been
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
24.
Well,
I would have been 24.
that explains it. When you have that kind of
Yeah, I
youth,
was a lot younger.
yeah. Well, it gets harder and harder as you get older and older.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's just as rewarding. I remember being in the paddocks and when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and looking at guys that were in their 60s and 70s, and I would ask them, is like, how long you been doing this, and you're in great shape. Is like, how did you manage to do that? He said, well, if you want to be in great shape when you're 70, you better be working on it when you're 30, when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60, because by the time you're 60, it may be too late. Like I said, it may be a little too late to reel it back in. So I think some people just give up at some point and say, who cares? I don't care what I look like. I don't care how I feel. Go for that instant
Hmm.
satisfaction. So I've been fortunate throughout my life. I mean, food is not all that important to me. So I eat with a purpose, not so much for the joy of it. I do enjoy a good cheeseburger, a piece of pizza, a couple beers here and there, but for the most part, a treat for me is a bowl of Cheerios with whole milk. I mean, I love that. Drives my wife crazy because that's not her idea of she'd go get Mexican or something, and I'm like, nah, I want a bowl of Special K and a banana. So I've been fortunate that food has been, it's not a pleasure center for me. So that's been easier for me, and I understand for some people, food's a tremendous joy and pleasure, and there's plenty of it out there. When I was growing up, just one McDonald's on the corner was all there was. Now there's 150 fast food places. One thing I did a long time ago, as a home inspector, I drive all over the city, so I had put some weight on because I was stopping in every single Wendy's and whatever was quick and easy to get lunch. So one of the things I have now as a rule is I never have my food passed to me through a drive-through window. I don't eat that way. So what I will do is if I go to Chick-fil-A or something like that, I'll park my truck and go inside, but I don't do drive-through food.
Mhm.
I don't know how much
That's a
that
good
matters.
rule.
But I will go in. I don't know if you guys got Chick-fil-A's around you, but we had Chick-fil-A
Hmm.
galore down here, and you'll see a line a mile long for the drive-through. But
Hmm.
if you park and go in, the whole restaurant's empty. So I
Yeah.
usually I just go in and sit down and eat my food. So, but the idea of driving through and the convenience of not having to get out of your car so that you can eat a 1,500 calorie lunch, that's not good. At least if you get out of the car and walk in, you get a few calories burned on the way in and out.
Yeah, I prefer to go inside too. I don't like to
Yeah,
go through the drive-through.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
So how would you say your diet changed once you
man,
did you change your diet once you realized when you got diagnosed?
yeah. I mean, I eat a lot of ice cream now. The health stuff goes out the window because the chemo has such an effect on your appetite. Like for instance, I mean, nothing, you can't taste anything. So everything tastes like cardboard. I love pizza. I try to have a piece of pizza. It tastes like I'm eating cardboard. Um, so you have to go for things that like lemonade is real. Anything that has like a sharp flavor that would maybe break through. Um, but a lot of protein shakes because there's a lot of foods that I just couldn't keep down. So like peanut butter and jelly, it just would depend. It would change from day to day, and all you can do is eat whatever your body will accept. I would love to say that I ate a healthy diet, but there's certain foods like if you grilled a piece of chicken for me, I wouldn't even be able to look at it. Never mind chew and swallow it. The other thing was with the level 3 skin infection, my gums, my tongue had blisters and sores on them. My teeth are all cracked and broken, and it made it really really hard to chew and swallow. So I ended up drinking a lot of my food, which was fine for me as a previous bodybuilder myself, weightlifter. Protein shakes are fine with me. And turns out they're full of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, and proteins. So that's kind of how I sustained myself. I would do the protein shakes, and then if I wanted ice cream or a milkshake or anything like that, I would just eat it. Anything I could do to put calories on because I was just losing weight like crazy when you're on chemo. it was a tough battle. So you kind of throw the rules out the window and just do whatever you can.
Hmm.
That's what I did anyway. So that's
So
all I was able to do.
it killed your app. Like you wasn't hungry at all. You didn't have an appetite.
Yeah, you could go for days without eating, and even food just repulses you. And so you have maybe a favorite meal that you remember how it tastes, and you try to eat that favorite meal. It literally tastes like you're chewing nothing. Like the taste is gone. You have no idea how horrible it is to lose your taste buds because food is completely joyless. Not only is it joyless, it's difficult to chew and swallow because it doesn't taste good. Aroma and taste are very important to appetite. I've learned that.
Hmm.
If you lose that, oh man, it's not. And I'm just now coming off chemo, and just now things are starting to come to me. Like I'll get a craving for pizza or a cheeseburger, and that wasn't there 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, I couldn't eat a cheeseburger, but now the taste buds are starting to come back. So it's kind of a wonderful thing. And I lost 20 pounds on this last 6 rounds of chemo, and I've gained probably 15 of it back already. So that's been good.
Okay, I hear your dog. What kind of dog you got?
I got two poodles. I got a standard poodle, black and white. That's his name's Paris, and then we got another one, a golden doodle, which dog's a maniac. So the two of them are like the odd couple. One is very sophisticated and well behaved, and the other is just a complete nut job. So golden doodle, we named him Casanova because he's so beautiful. But they're fun and generally pretty quiet. So uh, yeah, my son's in there yelling at him now. So thankfully I closed the door, but. What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah. Hey, I'm a big dog person. I got a pit bull mixed with a lab.
Yeah,
Those
I've
are the
always
best little
had
thing.
dogs. I've
Yeah.
had, when we were married 10 years before we had my son Luke, and every time we talked about having children, I brought a dog home. So we had six dogs before he was born.
Oh wow.
Two English Mastiffs, two Yorkies, a pound dog, and a pug. So everything
Yeah.
from 10 pounds up to 200. It was like having a little farm. But we've always had dogs, and they've been a great pleasure for me and a great source of therapy and pleasure through chemo because I feed them and walk them every day, throw the ball. Cool thing about dogs is they don't treat you any different when you have cancer. They don't
It's
know and
true.
they don't care. They don't know and they don't care. So they've been really, really good for me, therapeutically speaking. So yeah,
Hmm.
I can't say enough. I love my dogs.
Yeah, you don't realize how good of like a companion a dog is for you. You always get those
Yeah.
people that people are always weirded out about people that like love their dogs, let their dogs sleep with them and like
Oh
kiss
yeah.
on them and stuff. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
you just don't even know. I love my
Yeah.
little dog to death.
Yeah, pack animals and we're their family. So when you lose a dog, they say it's the same as losing a person, and people don't realize that it's a heartache. And I've had that heartache more times than I care to remember. That's why if you have one dog and the dog dies, it's hard to get another one because you got to start all over. But if you have
Hmm.
multiple dogs, then they don't all die at the same time. So you always have one. And that's
Yeah,
how we've been. There's been, I think, in our 30 years of marriage, there's been maybe a year where we didn't have at least one dog.
absolutely. All right, so we're getting close to our time here. I got a few rapid fire questions I'm going to ask you.
All righty,
What's
let's have it.
the what's the biggest lesson that you've learned from doing endurance sports?
The disciplined lifestyle just pays for itself over a long period of time. The lifestyle that Ironman has given me is the greatest joy of my life because it created the work ethic and the discipline that's allowed me to be successful in other areas of my life. It bleeds over. It bleeds over into everything that you do. And that's been the greatest reward for me is I think it's helped me maintain an even keel. Life hits you from different directions. There's lots of ups and downs in business and finances and economy, but fitness is one thing that's always stayed true. I call it the keel of my boat. So regardless of the storms we're going through, that fitness thing was what kept my boat steady, what kept my boat from flipping over. And as I said, throughout my life, whenever things got difficult, I've been self-employed my whole life. So, we've had some hard times financially due to, economic conditions and whatnot, but fitness has always remained something I have control over. Nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can stop me from doing it, and it's free. You don't need money to do it. So that's been the theme of my life. It's been the keel of my boat, and I think that's the thing I'm most grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned being the most disciplined. Every time I do like one of my preps, I'm definitely the most disciplined because I'm dialed in on a goal. You know,
Yeah.
you have your training plan. You probably have a meal plan that goes along with it. So I always get like my best results when I'm
Well,
really dialed in on a
the
goal.
Ironman, and I know you with bodybuilding and whatnot, when you get into these larger sports, it's not just the time you spend working out, it's 24/7. It's your
Hmm.
sleep, it's your food, it becomes a lifestyle. And like I said, once that becomes your lifestyle, it bleeds into everything you do. And it makes you more successful in almost every area. In my life, that's the way it's worked out. When things you don't have any control over are happening all around you, the one thing you do have control over is that fitness aspect of your life. So I've always kind of leaned on that to get me through the harder times in my life, and it's really worked well for me, including now having cancer. Once again, it's paid off for me.
Hmm. So what's been your hardest Ironman moment you've ever experienced?
I would say Chattanooga 2024. I was 6 months into treatment. I had lost 35 pounds. I had a level 3 skin infection. I was really close to the end. I decided to do the race anyway. One of the reasons I titled the book Just Keep Trying. I didn't know why I was doing those things at the time, but it led me to the Ironman World Championship. It led me to writing the book. But that particular race, I wasn't well. I wasn't feeling well, and it was awful. And coming, not I got about 70, 80 miles into the bike and had to quit, and I've never had. That's one of the lowest points of my life, where really I thought I was dying, and then I had this awful race, and I said, well, that's it. You know what I mean? And then everything changed in the next week. So you never know. You just keep trying, and you'll be surprised how things work out.
What's your favorite discipline? Swim, bike, or run?
I would say bike, without question. But swim is close because I'm a lifelong swimmer. Grew up on the Jersey coast, swimming in the ocean, and I always describe myself as amphibious. I'm as comfortable in the water as I am out, but nothing like the bike, man. Nothing like rolling down the road and pounding those pedals, and hours and hours of that moving meditation just clears your mind in a way that rare few things do. So I have a real love and passion for the bicycle.
Yeah, it's actually funny when it comes to my actual triathlon. During the training, I thought it was the I thought swimming was going to be the hardest, running was going to be the second hardest, and biking was going to be the easiest. Well, when it come to my actual race day, it was like it
Yeah,
completely swapped. Swimming ended up being the easiest for me. I
yeah.
guess because it was first
It's
and I was fresh.
first. It's first, and it's only
Yeah,
an hour and a half, an hour, whatever
yeah.
you do it in. So it's the easiest part of your day, and everything gets
Mhm.
hard once you get on the bike. The bike's where it really starts. So
Yeah, to me, the bike was way harder than I thought. Like it was way harder, and it was not necessarily physically hard. It was mentally hard. When
yeah,
I was on the bike for over 6 hours, and
yeah,
I just got bored. Like I was like,
yeah.
I'm ready to get off this
Well,
bike.
how about when you hit 100 miles and you're like, wow, 12 more is like 12 miles doesn't sound like much unless you just did 100, and
Yeah.
then 12 miles becomes like forever. You're like, man, I just
Hmm.
cannot wait to get off of this bicycle. Please,
Yeah.
God, get me off this bike.
And then the
And
run
then,
was
then
about
you
as
then you
hard.
well then you can stand up like a normal human being. Now you don't have to deal
Hmm.
with the bike. You don't have to worry about crashing. You can eat. You can walk. You can just everything gets easier off the bike. Although you still have to do the run, which isn't easy. But getting off the bike for me is always kind of like, thank God. Thank
Yeah.
God that part's done. Even though I love it. So
Yeah. I thought the bike was going to be the easiest, but to me, it was by far the hardest on race day. And then the
yeah,
run was
surprise.
it was about what I expected. It was still pretty
Yeah.
tough, but I would say easier than the
Well,
bike. The one
12 hours is super respectable. So you're good at all three disciplines.
Yeah, the running route for Panama City, the Florida one,
Yeah.
it's so you do like a 6 mile out, 6 mile
Yeah.
back, and you do that
Right.
twice. So
Right.
there's a lot of people on the road pretty
Yeah.
much the whole way.
Which
So
is
that
nice.
helps a lot. That helps
Yeah,
a
it
lot.
does. It
It
does. It does.
helps.
It really does.
Hmm. So
And
you
have
just
that
feed off of
support.
everybody's energy the whole time. So
Yeah, it's
that helps a lot.
super flat down there too, and a
Hmm.
lot of a lot of that environment's real nice, running by the ocean and whatnot. But the weather can be iffy too, so
Yeah.
you never know what you're gonna get into with the wind and everything else.
Yeah, luckily we got a pretty good weather the day I did it, so it worked
Yeah,
out pretty nice. I think that's a good first one to do. Like if you're thinking about doing one, I definitely
yeah.
recommend that as a
Well,
first
one
race.
thing I've learned is there's no such thing as an easy Ironman. If you think you're gonna pick a course that's easy, it doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
if you go to Lake Placid, you're gonna have hills. If you go to Florida, you're gonna have wind.
Hmm.
So just because it's flat doesn't mean it's easy. It could be harder on the flats if you got a big wind. So Nothing more debilitating and humiliating than a headwind on a
Hey, no,
bicycle.
and there's some sneaky hills on the bike route now. The
Yeah,
bike route
well,
is not, it's not 100% flat. There's definitely some hills on it for sure.
yeah, nothing's 100% flat, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
Now it ain't like riding through the mountains. That's a little different, but it's got
I,
some
I,
long
I,
rolling
I
hills.
prefer I prefer the hills myself. I don't
Hmm.
mind doing the work. I like having the reward on the other side where you get the downhill. When you're in the wind, it doesn't
Hmm.
quit. You don't get a downhill. You just get the wind, and it just drains your soul. Is what happens over a long period of time. It'll just take your soul right, take all your will right out of your heart.
Yeah, but at some point you're gonna turn around and you're gonna get the wind on your
Yeah,
back. So
on
that
your back,
helps.
and that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is the good side of it. So, although every time I ride, I feel like I have a headwind everywhere I turn. So.
Oh yeah. I get the same feeling. All right, one more thing. What quote? What's one quote that you live by?
You can suffer the pain of discipline, or you can suffer the pain of regret.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, if you could let everybody know where they can find your book at,
You
and
go to
if you have any
Amazon.
social
You go
media.
to yeah, it's on Amazon, and you go. You can just type in "just keep trying," and trying is spelled TRI-ing, little play on words for triathlon, and
Hmm.
it'll pop right up. I got paperback, hardback, and ebook on Kindle. I'll have an audiobook coming out soon. It takes a minute for them to vet it, but I just launched this May 26th. It's already number one new release in the Ironman category, and it's rising in some other categories. So a lot of people have read it and felt like it's a pretty good book. I think everyone pulls something out of it. So it's a worthwhile purchase. You're doing charity as well because the money's going to a good cause. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's stage 4, number 4, 2025. So stage 4, 2025. And that's really it.
Awesome. Well, first off, congratulations on your cancer free
Thank you. Thank you.
diagnosis, and then thank you for coming on the podcast. I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
love getting to talk about
Yeah,
Iron Man and stuff.
thanks so much for having me on the podcast, and we can follow up again after I finish in Kona. We'll see how it goes. I'll come back and then you can let me know how your big event went.
Oh yeah, I'm super jealous of you. By the way, that would be my dream to go to Kona and do the Iron Man.
Well, I don't think most people know how hard it is to get to Kona. There's only
Yeah.
2,500 participants. Half of them are women. 10% are pros. So there's like 1,100 men that get to go. And I'm fortunate that the Ironman always makes room for people. If I didn't have cancer, I wouldn't be in it because I'm not fast enough.
Hmm.
Another gift cancer has given me is Kona. So there's always a silver lining in the tragedy. So I like to turn tragedy into triumph, and that's what I'm doing. So
Absolutely. Well, I hope you do good for your race, and hope you stay
appreciate it.
well and stay healthy.
Yep.
So yeah, that's gonna do it for today's episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast. Y'all be sure to tune in next week for another episode. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.